How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Big C, and Ashton is here this week. We are talking one of our favorite courses, Yocha Dehe, out in Brooks, California. Really, really fun course. I would say a very playable video game course. It definitely feels a little, unreal when you're out there. Conditions are immaculate at all times. A lot of elevated tee boxes, wide open fairways. It's a really fun course and probably one of our favorites in Northern California. Ashton, how you doing this week?
I'm good, man. I'm excited to see you soon. It's been, I was going to say unseasonably warm, but I don't really know that that's a thing in San Francisco. It's just not normally, because seasons here are like whatever. But yeah, it's like 80 degrees here. We're recording a little early on a Thursday. But I just did a little workout in the park, and I mean, San Francisco is unique and I love it. But while I was in the park, I saw a woman doing some sort of like Native American dance, which that's not me like saying that in like a, white person way of like, oh, I think no, like she was literally, she had incense and like was like, again, I didn't know if she was Native American. I sort of assumed so, but that was interesting. I also saw a 80-year-old man in a Speedo who kept turning with the sun. And while I was jump roping, I definitely got, what is it? Fall Out Boy. It's is it more than you bargained for? Yeah. Like that is what happened. Saw a little bit too much there, but nice to sweat. So yeah, it's things are good. Still have not played a ton of golf. Played a little bit of golf. Snuck out on Friday with a friend of the pod, JD. Played Metropolitan. Just a PSA to everybody to keep getting out there. $50, great greens. That place is great. Also, the wind was blowing 20 miles an hour. So watching JD hit a 6-iron from like 150 made me, have faith in humanity that conditions are real. And then on Saturday, played with another friend of the pod, Hussey. We did a little match play at Harding Park, which was fun. Me and Hussey are doing a hashtag play it back initiative because we're like, we hit it far enough. We're like, no, like let's, not if it's like 7,200, but if in doubt, play it back. And I shot 83, Hussey shot 87. I sent him down the road, took front back in total. He played well overall. He just kept making bogeys, but but also just wanted to shout out Hussey because he just qualified for the Pub Links. Shot 80 today. He made an 8 on the last hole to shoot 80. I think his text was, he hit it great and putted terribly. So I think, the direct quote was, I need a new putter and I need putting lessons, because I think he said he missed, I don't know, I should be reading the text, but I think he missed 3 putts inside of 4 feet in the first 5 holes. So I don't know, but Hussey, we love you. We're proud of you, but it might be a great time to go see, Sam Putt Lab, get a little numbers, go have a lesson, because the dude strikes the shit out of the ball, but 80 with an 8 and bad putting, like we can just get Hussey to strokes gained neutral on putting, it'll be a game changer.
When you hit 70% fairways in reg and about like 75% greens in reg, and you shoot mid 80s on average, dude, he's incredible, to be honest. Like, to watch him hit the ball is incredible to watch. Anybody that's ever played with Hussey, it's fun to watch him play until he gets on the greens. And I've always said Hussey would be a scratch golfer if he could get his putting figured out. I mean, he'd be one of the best golfers out of easily all of our friends, all of our buddies.
Well, the scary thing is, as soon as he gets it dialed in, he's going to go overnight from like a 5 to a +1, and it's going to be no fun to play with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a solid 5, can be a 9 on certain days, but it's all dependent on how his putting is that specific day, and that's always his crux.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think for him, I know you obviously hooked him up kind of at the top of the bag with everything, but I know we were sort of joking on Saturday. He like knows how to play with his wedges, but if you give him some kind of new wedges, new grooves, properly swing weighted, and then a properly fit putter, I think it's a game changer. Because Chris, I'll tell you to give you some real time feedback of kind of our fitting. Well, I mean, this is less about the fitting. I just had multiple moments on Saturday where I was like, "Oh, new wedges make a difference." Like I had balls spinning backwards, which I haven't had to think too much about like flighting my wedges. The ball sort of like flies and stops, but I had a kind of a wedge in and hit it to the hole, and it like zipped back, and I was like, "Oh yeah, brand new, brand new Callaway Jaws wedges, just kind of really biting that Pro V1X." So I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a bit of an adjustment." So, but yeah, if we can get that guy some new grooves and a putter, and his air quotes bachelor party is coming up soon, so something for us to think about. How's he don't fucking text us? No. Like it just not. We'll see. We gotta get the boy dialed in.
Yeah, we'll figure him out. I've always said that I'll bet you he's in the wrong toe hang and style of putter, and I've said that for the longest time. For Hussey is I know for a fact that putter is not fit for him.
All I know though is we've told the story about hearing about when you guys played against each other and the cookout and him draining a 15-footer and just kicking your ass with his putting is like the one good day he's ever had putting was against you with a lot of marbles on the line, which is just. I mean, it just shows like that's golf right there.
Yeah, and it's hilarious. I've seen the guy, shooting 89 because he's had like 39 putts in a round, and then he does that against me in a 2-ball. It's just it's frustrating, but hey, that's what golf is, and that's how it is. But yeah.
And you, while I was in the park with an 80-year-old guy with his hanging out, you were playing. You were out at Tristan Tree, huh? Which again, Tristan Tree is not spelled. I got the piece of feedback is Tristan Tree is not spelled how you think it's spelled. I think of it as Tristan, like a person's name, and then Tree, but it's not spelled that way.
No, it's Tristing with a Y and ing at the end.
Well, no offense, Chris. What you say sometimes is not exactly correlated to so like you're not the most like enunciator. You're not like Christopher Reinhardt, master fitter at Club Champion. That's not exactly how it is. So I've heard Tristan Tree. I live in Tristan Tree, but it's Tristing Tree.
Yep.
You know why it's called that? I think I asked that last week, but.
Yeah, I still don't have an idea. Haven't asked around about it, but
I'm gonna ask when we get out there.
Yeah, it's the second time I've played it. Have really enjoyed it, and we're gonna do a deep dive on it after you come out next week, and we're gonna get out there and play it with our guy B Mace, friend of the pod. And it's great course, Oregon State, track. Great practice facility for the college kids and for any public golfer out in the area. I think it's one of the best bang for your bucks within like a 30-40 minute drive of where I live out in Salem now. So it probably going to slowly become my home course that I probably play the most.
Yeah. And is it, again, we'll do a full deep dive, but it's pretty affordable, right, too?
Yeah. I mean, I think with a cart, I paid, mid-60s today. So not bad at all.
And you said 3 hours and 40 minutes, which I know it's Thursday, but as we all know with how booked courses are, Dave, like time of week doesn't matter anymore. Like a golf course, it's like, oh, it's super open on a Tuesday. It's like, no, you can't get tee times on a Tuesday.
No, and I was a single, and they just squeezed me in. They pretty much had a stacked tee sheet, and even with the stacked tee sheet, both times I've played were under 4 hours.
Love that.
Yeah, really, really good pace of play. The track is fun too. I mean, there's only about 4 holes that you really got to worry about your drive, but outside those 4 holes, you can blast it all over the place out there. It's pretty wide open. Dan Hickson redesign in, I think, 2009.
Sweet.
So
Yeah.
really, really cool setup.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I can't wait to play it. It's going to be a blast. And the irony you were just saying of it's 80 degrees and beautiful in San Francisco this weekend, coming up to Portland, and it's going to be, rainy, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But as a good transition, speaking of hot as fuck, Yocha Dehe, for context, it's in Brooks, California, which for those of you I don't even care if you're local, you kind of have no reason to know where this place is.
Nope.
Unless you go. I forget exactly, but I want to say it's like 2 hours north of San Francisco. I mean, it's literally in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it's more like east of San Francisco, because you take 80 all the way towards Sacramento, and then you kind of go up north about 20 miles off of 80, and so it's like you said, kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's attached to a Indian casino. It doesn't play like it does play like a resort course, but it's a better design than most resort courses I've played.
Well, I would say from a resort perspective, and I know we're gonna do our usual rundown, but I mean, I think we'll talk about walking and opinions on that, but these are the plushest golf carts you will ever have. The seats are so comfortable, like concerningly comfortable. I don't know what the deal is. There's rims, there's water everywhere, so it's just more of they have the really nice GPS system that shows you exact yardages to the flag. So it doesn't actually feel, to your point, like a resort. It's just more of the amenities are there's literally bottle. I feel like there's bottle, huge things of bottled water on almost every hole. Granted, there needs to be. I think when we played there last summer, it was 106 when Jack and I were playing. But it has just amenities out the ass for sure. Just tons of amenities.
Yeah, in kind of the walkability of the course is kind of like how you talk about the Judge out in Alabama.
I mean, kind of the same first tee shot.
Yeah.
Way up in the air, no depth perception, not sure where it is. It's the same tee shot.
Same thing. Very elevated first tee shot into the fairway, and it's just not a walkable course. It's very, very spread out. I mean, I don't even know if they really allow people to walk, especially when it's really hot in the summer, because I mean, even though they have water on every hole, and they do offer, little water bottle service throughout the entire course, it's just hot. I mean, 106 to 110 dry heat most of the year while they're open, and just a lot of elevation change, and it's just not a walkable golf course. So, I mean, you have to go out there and
I'll tell you from personal experience. So last year, Jack and I did a 36-hole day out there, and we decided we were going to walk in the morning when it was cooler, and then we were going to ride in the afternoon when it was warmer. And what we found is the issue actually wasn't you're correct on number one, for example, because for context for people, I don't know how, but you're probably 120 feet above the fairway. You're way up there. So that sounds bad. But if you actually think about it, the rest of the course is pretty flat outside of 1 and 10 where the tee boxes are. The issue is that every single person on the rest of the golf course is riding. So our issue was, for us to take the switchbacks down the hill on 1, a normal group would be on the green. We're not walking slowly. It's just we have to walk down switchbacks with push carts, So the issue was, I mean, Jack and I, we're not the fastest players per se, but we're way faster than the average walker, but we just couldn't keep up because everyone else is zipping around in carts. So it's one of those where it's I would just say, look, I love walking. I would just say, I believe, you'll have to correct me, I think carts are included. Again, carts are included in the price of these or not.
They are.
I would say just take a cart. For pace of play and flow of the golf course, if you walk, you're going to be the only person walking. The cart person drove past us multiple times and was like, what are you doing? And even the marshal came out and was like, guys, he's like, you're playing slow. And I remember Jack was like, well, we're playing ahead of the 4 hours and 20-minute pace. And the guy was like, I mean, he's like, the roadblock is here. It's because y'all are walking. So I would just say ride.
Yeah, that's a good point because again, if it's a course that most people walk, not gonna have an issue. Usually, you're gonna have to wait in a cart, and that's your choice to be in a cart and drive up to your ball and wait, just because you don't want to walk and create the same pace as the rest of the course. But this course, 99% of people playing that day are going to be in a cart, and they're jamming too. Like again, it's a resort course. People are running up to the ball, hitting and going. Like
they're literally trying to get back to the casino. Because again, I think it's also a place like most people are not driving 2 hours from SF to play Yocha. They're probably staying right there, jamming a 3-hour round, and then get back to the tables. That's probably. I mean, that makes it sound unappealing, but like the golf course is like wonderful. Because the other thing, Chris, I think you told this to me. It's like unbelievably green because they have access to water because they have no watering limitations on the golf course.
Yes, because they're on a reservation.
So like it can be pristine because they can do things from a watering perspective that the rest of the state literally cannot do. Is that right?
Yeah, so they have, basically when you're on a reservation, it's no longer the state of California or a piece of property that is owned by the government at all, or has access to. It is all ran by the Indian tribe that inhabits that reservation. So they kind of have it's kind of their own Wild Wild West situation. They can kind of do what they want, and they have a lot of water reservoirs and stuff that they utilize to keep the course extremely green. So even in a place where most of the year, most courses are burning out the rough and, only watering greens and fairways to conserve and to be able to have a decent enough playing surface, they're lush year round. No matter when you play Yocha, it is absolutely lush. And the one thing I'll say about Yocha as well is, it was ranked on the Golf Digest, top 100, I think within the top 10 or 20, like 3 or 4 years. It's a very, very well-built course, well-maintained course, and highly highly wanted to be able to be played by many people across NorCal and people traveling to NorCal to play as well.
Well, I even saw this week. I think these people, I appreciate their work, but also I think they're a little bit of thirst buckets. But some of those people who are just like golf photographers, like Evan something, I don't know. But like that guy who's like posting about like Sand Valley and like big time golf courses. He posted this week about he spent 4 days at Yocha and shot the whole course. And I was like, in my head, I wouldn't think of Yocha as a place that like a golf course photographer would spend 4 days. But to your point, for sure. And the other thing too is like, I've given you shit in the past before where you're like, to be honest, I couldn't remember a hole out there. Like, I would say that Yocha has like, I think that there's like 12 right answers for your favorite hole. Like, and I can't really think of a bad hole out there. There's some kind of snoozy holes. Like 2 is like a dogleg par 5 where you kind of hit your driver anywhere but right, hit it up by the green, but like there's a lot of really, really good holes out there. So, really good conditions, fast pace of play and like 12 or 13 memorable holes. Like, sign me up for that. Granted, we'll get into this. If you don't have the Troon card, it's like pretty expensive, but it's really, again, I just said there's like 12 or 13 really good holes. Like most people are paying, you were talking about Langdon Farms charging $115. And like, I've never played it. I'm not trying to drive by shoot Langdon Farms, but if you're paying $115 for Langdon Farms, like, okay, like buck up and pay whatever it is at Yocha, like once in a while and you'll love it.
And also you can catch them on stay and play deals as well out at the casino where you can stay and play the course for, a pretty good rate. And then also if you keep an eye out on, some of the websites that we've mentioned in past podcast about where you can get discounted rates and things like that. You can catch Yocha, sleeping a little bit, and you can get some discounted rates. And again, if you've got anybody that has a Troon card that they also allow you to utilize that for buddy rates, and you can get discounts. So, there's different ways to get cheaper rounds out there. But yeah, I mean, if you're in the area and you don't have access to any of those, or it's still worth the money that they're charging, because in my opinion, one of the more premium golf courses that you're going to be able to play in Northern California. And I even, for less than Harding Park, I think it's a way better track.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I guess the only caveat is you just said if you're in the area, like you're not going to be in the area. No. I think like you're not going to. But I think since especially we're focused more on the Bay Area, I know for like my friend of the pod, like Levi, who lives in Roseville, it's like an hour from Roseville. Like if you live in like the greater Sacramento area, it's a lot closer than the actual like for living in SF. But again, all the time, no. But I would say that like once a year, I got to make it out to Yocha. I just think it's worthy of that, even at full freight.
Yeah, well, let's get into the holes. So again, we talked about hole one. Hole one is an elevated tee shot. If you're playing from the tips, 454. If you're playing kind of where I've kind of been hovering in, which here it would actually be the 3-ups for me. So if you're playing the tips, you're kind of looking at 7,300, which my wheelhouse right now in what I'm playing, because I'm not doing the tee backs like you and Hussey. 65 to 66 is kind of the distance that I'm hovering in nowadays. If I see that on a scorecard, that's usually the tees I'm going to be playing. I can go to 67, 68 if I want to, or depending on who I'm playing with. But if I'm going out to just enjoy the round, I'm hovering around 65, 6,600. And so that would be the green tees for me. Or I'm sorry, that would be the white tees for me. And that's right around 65. Where you would play probably would be the 1-ups, because I doubt you and Hussey would be playing from 73. 69 would be where you guys would be playing, which would be the 1-ups on this. But very friendly first hole. Nice, it's a little bit far from the whites and from the golds, but you're so elevated that you probably are gaining an extra 50 to 60 yards off the tee on this hole if the wind isn't coming in your face.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I hit driver gap wedge into this hole. Like it's not, because again, for the 50 millionth time, it's 105 degrees, humid as hell, and you're way up in the air. Like the ball is flying. It's the opposite of the golf I'm used to playing, where it's like sea level, heavy air, ball's not going anywhere. Like the ball is flying. But Chris, one thing I just wanted to quickly mention is like I think that. We've talked about this a bunch, but I think that like I love that you've just sort of been authentic to the tees you're supposed to play, right? Because I mean, I think we're like Hussey and I were talking about this I think a couple weeks ago, but I think the USGA says that if you hit it 275, you're supposed to be playing at like if you hit it 275, you're supposed to be playing like 67, 68. And like you don't hit it 275, right? You hit it like more like 260. So it's like cool. Those aren't the right, like that's not the right tees for you. Like, and I think also too, what we might even try when I play with you is like, using the great kind of gin calculator is like, cool. I'll probably play one back from you, and like that'll kind of affect what kind of the shots we give. But like I think that's great, right? Because sometimes I think we feel pressure. Well, I've even seen like there was at Harding or 2 times ago, where the guys we were playing with, I'm not trying to drive by shoot them, but they were probably like 15 handicaps. And I was playing from the backs and they were like, oh, we'll pay it back there too. And literally I made a point to say, you don't need to do that. Like, there's no reason for you. Like, you guys, like, it's not weird to be playing from different tee boxes. Just play where you feel comfortable, right? A 15 handicap playing at 6,900 yards, like that's not, they're not going to be fun.
No, like if me and you were to both play the golds here, which would be 6,900, if we did the handicap calculator, you would be giving me 4 strokes. Where if I played the 2-ups and you were playing the golds, if I was playing 65 and you were playing 69, we could easily play straight up and not have to give anyone strokes. And so the handicap system doesn't always necessarily mean you always have to play the same tees. It also dictates where you're supposed to play from that evens out the playing field. So if you're hitting an extra 20, 30 yards behind me on some of the tees, that's evening it out because you hit it about 280 on average, and I hit it about 260. So we'd be in the same spot in the fairway every time.
I play one tee behind you, and we hit it in the same spot, and we play straight up. Like, that's how it should be, for sure. Yeah.
Unless I miraculously get stronger and I hit it further, I mean, that's the only difference in our game, really, is your distance to me. And, like, if we're playing it to where I'm hitting it, where I normally hit it, play shorter tees, that's the way we do it.
Yeah. But to get back to kind of the hole, I think one's a great hole. Basically, also, too, if I remember correctly, Chris, I think that on 1 and 2, if you blow it right, it's actually a protected area where you get a free drop, which like is kind of stupid in my mind, like, because it's essentially a hazard. So I mean, like, in theory though, you can like blow it off the planet right, and then you get a free drop, which I think that's because of a protected area, and there's a ton of room left, so it's super scenic. And it's just a really good kind of handshake hole. And then moving to 2, I mentioned 2 is kind of snoozy, but just snoozy in the sense of same idea, right? If you hit it in the shit, you get a free drop, ton of room left. And then it's just like a pretty straightforward par 5 where there's not a lot of area where you can get lost. And so it's actually a really good, I think when I played there, I birdied it both times. It's a really good birdie hole. So it kind of gets you off to a fast start where it's like really scenic, handshake first hole, pretty like comfy, par 5 to kind of get you off to the races. So, if you're playing well, there's, you could easily be kind of 1 under standing on 3 and be like, okay, cool, let's go.
And again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but with those tees, it's, for you, it would be a 515-yard hole. For me, it would be 480. That's the 30-yard difference there. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to stress that point too much, but, like, that's where it comes into play, where we're both going to hit it in the same area. It's giving us both the same challenge, and it's evening out the playing field. In a well-designed golf course is going to have tees set up properly to compensate for that. If they're putting your tees and my tees within 5 yards from each other, yeah, that's a poorly designed golf course. I mean, there's no advantage for a person to move up at that point. But if it's that big of a difference, it's absolutely a smart play and way more fun to play with your buddies if you're both playing from the applicable tee boxes. But going on to hole 3 here. Hole 3 is probably one of the hardest holes on the golf course, in my opinion. It's a par 4.
It's literally the hardest hole in the golf course.
Well, it ranked hardest, but I think it's a true ranking. Sometimes the one handicap on the golf course is not necessarily in the hardest
that's a fair point.
Hole. Where this guy has a large bunker, middle of the fairway, where it pretty much 90% of people are going to land. If you blow it left, you're also going to be dealing with bunkers on the left-hand side with 2 massive bunkers over there. And then it's a, fairly decent-sized green, but it slopes front to back and has this it slopes back to front, and it has a false drop-off on the backhand side of it that goes down into this catch basin. And it makes it an extremely challenging approach shot because if the pin is playing back, it's going to create, issues if you try to go pin seeking for it because you're most likely not going to stop a ball on these greens. They're very hard. They roll very true, pretty quick as well. So if you throw it at it, you're probably going to end in that catch basin on the backhand side, or if you leave it short, you're going to have a fairly uphill putt to get it in. But leaving the ball below the hole is actually the best way to play this course when you're approaching the greens. What are your thoughts on hole 4, first par 3 that we see?
Yeah, it's deceptive because I mean I think that it's got so there's water, but I mean the water is really not in play. I think the big thing that's interesting about number 4 is there's like a reverse C bunker. And I don't think I knew it. I never played it before. I didn't realize that. And so it really places really places a lot of importance on distance control. It's a pretty big green. But I remember, I took a little bit more club and I ended up in the back bunker. Of course, one of the big pros here is bunkers are, in excellent shape. So bunker shots are not super hard. But I think it's just also just a really striking hole with like the sand and the water, but just a really good hole. And again, from the gold tees where I'd be playing 174 yards, I think the wind was in my face. So you're talking about hitting like either like a chippy 6 or a 7. And I think that's where I think the pin was in the back. So took that 6 iron and kind of bounced over the green. Also, just a reminder, this is why I switched to the graphite shafts now. So excited to not have that happen moving forward. But a very kind of stern test, again, to have like a 6 or 7 iron into a par 3 early in the round. I think that's kind of your first long iron that you have to hit, or longer iron that you have to hit, but certainly a good hole. And again, to your point, don't agree. It says this is the 15th hardest hole. Like it's the handicap is 15. I don't think that's right. I think it's harder than that.
That one, it definitely is incorrect. I do like that there is that wraparound bunker on the right-hand side because it does save you. There's a lot of courses that basically would just have that as mowed out grass. And if you made it, you hit it on the right-hand side, it would go straight into that water over there, where I think it's a nice kind of savior and safe spot to be in because you have a lot of green to play with out of that bunker. And one thing I love about the hole is the green complex. So you have a false front and then basically 2 bowls on either the left and right hand side on the backhand side. And then there's a spine that runs through the middle that funnels into either bowl. So if they really want to make it a difficult hole placement that day, they're going to put it right in the middle of the spine. And so your ball's either going to roll left or right. It will never kind of sit there. Or if they put it on the front hand side, you really have to throw it to the back and hopefully it sticks and doesn't roll into one of the bowls. But it's just a very well designed hole, and I think that's going to be kind of the common theme throughout the course, because then it leads into hole 5, which is, again, one of my favorite holes. Everybody knows that listens to the podcast. Short par 5s, gettable par 5 or par 4s are my absolute jam. I love a short par 4. There's nothing in golf, in my opinion, that rivals a short par 4. And this
I was going to make fun of you, Chris. This goes back to the tees, though, because from the gold tees, it's 402. So, like, it's short, but it's like driver wedge. It's not like I'm going to drive the green. So,
no.
Again, no, but I'm saying for you, it'd be 326. It's a 75-yard difference on the tees. So, my point is, that's a huge difference here,
Yeah, it gets.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying you'd play white or green?
I would play white, so it would still be 384, but I'm still getting myself into more of a 8-9 iron category into the hole than I would be hitting like a 6 or 7 if I played from your tee boxes. So, you would be more of a 9 pitching wedge.
I would disagree that this counts as a short par 4.
Okay, it's not necessarily a short par 4. It's a well-designed par 4.
Yeah. Well, again, this is probably a good thing as we agree too much. I don't agree with you. I just think this hole is very vanilla. It's like you can hit it anywhere. There's no trouble off the tee. There's a bunker right in front of the green that just club up one, and this is one where it's like if you make bogey, you have made a mistake. It's a par. It's just a par.
Yeah, I get that. I think what I like about it, it probably the green complex makes me like the hole a little bit more than what it is. Because I do love a lion's mouth style green. I mean, it's one of my favorite like architectural designs that I come across on a golf course. And if anybody doesn't know what a lion's mouth green is, usually what it is, the C-shaped, like kidney bean shaped green that has a bunker right in the middle front of the green that kind of fills the middle of the C or the kidney bean shape, and it just gets me every time. I don't know why. It's just an architectural feature that I have always really enjoyed. Maybe because it's all of the opens that I've watched overseas. That's a big architectural feature that you're going to see in links golf. It's on a lot of courses, in Ireland, Scotland, places out there. So maybe that's why I love it so much, because it kind of gives me a little hint of that. But yeah, I see what you're saying. It definitely is a bit of a handshake when it comes to your tee shot. There's not a lot of shit that's going to get you in trouble other than if you blow it left. There is a bunker that's perfectly placed left of the fairway, but the bunkers on the right hand side are literally not existent at all off the tee. All right, and then on hole 6, par 5, I would say it's probably one of the most visually appealing holes. Bunkers dead center, kind of bunkers everywhere. Big miss area on the right. Really large green back there for them to have many different hole placements. Again, great hole, well designed. I think it's probably one of the most visually appealing holes out on the golf course. And then we get to hole 7.
Yeah, hole 7, also another really great par 3. Bunkers kind of, the bunker, at least for me, kind of short left. It's perfect placement, because I think when I played this twice, I kind of hit my traditional, like, as I've called it, uncompetitive iron shot in the front bunker. But the big thing to note about this green that I remember is it slopes front to back. So I remember that when we played this, the pin was back left. And so out of that bunker, I actually had a great bunker shot where I basically landed it on the green and it rolled all the way down the hill. So it really kind of slants and cants all the way. So I think that's a great design, right? Where you have to fly the bunker, but then it's going to be landing on a down slope. So you got to kind of come in with the right approach angle, approach angle. But it's a great hole. 2 really, really good par 3s on the front 9. But then we have 8, and this is where you can talk about a short par 4. 8 is like a fantastically super fun hole.
This is what my favorite style of holes are. So this one's
not a 390 yard hole. Like, I love you, but like, come on.
So even from your tees, this one's 300. My tees would be 266. Very gettable with the driver for me as a guy that drives it 260 yards. It's a risk reward hole, because you can either lay up and have a nice 90-yard wedge in, or you can go for it and you're going to risk the trouble of the rough and massive bunkers right in front of the green. So it's a big risk reward, but I think it gets everybody. When you step on that tee box, I doubt anybody hits a layup on there. It's definitely one that every single person is going to want to pull a driver and go for it.
No, I mean, totally. Because also, too, I remember when I played there, I hit a little, going for the green, I hit like a little baby cut in the front bunker, splashed out my bunker shot. The first time made birdie, second time made par, and it's just, there's no reason not to. And I think that's good. Because, yeah, I mean, you can hit a 5-iron, but I sort of like a short hole where it's like, no, you need to just go just hit the shot. Like, don't overanalyze this. Just hit the shot.
Yep. And then you get to 9, and 9 is a bit of a challenge for
hard.
A par 4, all uphill, bunkers scattered all over the left hand side where your aim point is right off the tee box. So if you're not hitting a draw for a right-hander, or I'm sorry, a fade for a right-hander on this hole, it's going to be very hard for you. If you're a draw player, it's going to be very difficult.
The hard part though is it makes you want to go to the right. And if I remember correctly, there's like kind of like heather grass. So like I hit a pole
Yes.
to stay away, but then I like lost my ball. So it's like, yeah, you can play away from the bunkers, but if you hit that pole, or for you, if you hit a kind of a slice into the heather grass, it's really hard. And then the green is super elevated. So if you're in that heather grass, you have to factor like how is it going to play out of there to like a very uphill green. It's just a really hard hole. Like I think 9 is like one of the hardest holes out there.
I do think that the play on this hole is a 3-wood and not a driver, because driver is going to get you in way too much trouble. 3-wood's going to still give you a decent distance in, but not enough to where you can't pull 5 or 6 iron to get it up there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then we go to 10. 10 is one of my favorite holes out there. A par 5, again, very visually appealing, where you have essentially like mountain kind of, it feels like cliffs over on the left. You have water over on the right. Really places a paramount on a good tee shot there. But then even if you hit a really good tee shot, like insanely uphill shot, like to the point where like if you hit it just short, it's going to roll way down the hill, really kind of undulating green. So I think that like I remember I hit a hybrid all the way up there, but then like didn't quite get it on the, I pulled it right and the pin was all the way on the left and I was struggling to make par. So again, like if you hit a good tee shot, it puts you in a good spot. But the approach shot in being so uphill kind of to a blind green that's very challenging, again, makes 10 not a hole where you're a par 5 where you're looking at your chops going, let's make birdie. That's for sure. It's much harder than that.
No, it's a very, very hard hole. And then you get to 11, which in my opinion is also another really hard hole. It's slightly uphill. The green kind of slopes back off to the right-hand side. It pinches in the middle with these two bunkers that are pretty much dead center left and right. So it creates a very big challenge off the tee, because if you're a guy that's going to hit it 280, if you blow it left or right, you will be in one of those bunkers. So it's really challenging off tee. If you are able to hit a good tee shot, your second shot is a lot less challenging. But I think, again, it's one of those kind of risk-reward holes where if you decide to play it safe, it's not a bad play. But if you hit a very good tee shot, it's going to drastically reward you.
Yeah, if you hit a good tee shot, you should be making birdie.
Easily.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely gettable, but it's all about the tee shot there. And then you have 12, another kind of visually appealing hole, mainly because you start to kind of just suddenly out of nowhere, the like vineyards appear. So like you have vineyards kind of all around the green on this one. This is another one where it's all about your tee shot, because there's sort of like a speed slot essentially. I think the first time I played this, I like topped my driver and like had in forever, like 300 yards. The next time I killed my driver and had in like 80 yards. So there's like a speed slot, very undulating green, but definitely a very visually appealing hole with the vineyards, which really takes us to 13, which is like the vineyard hole, but another great par 3.
And again, you're going to get nothing but visually appealing holes out here. I mean, there's a reason why people go out there just to do photography on this course. It's extremely beautiful, well kept, and well designed, because there's some bunkers just in front of the tee boxes that really have nothing to do with create a visually appealing setting. It's a pretty mundane hole, except for the distance. I think that's really what makes this a hard hole. The green is massive. I mean, if you put a good face on the ball, you're not going to have any issue hitting this green. But you're going to probably be pulling either a hybrid or a wood out, because even from my
234,
I was going to say,
fuck.
For you, that would be one of your hybrids. For me, that would be my Apex UW, and it's hard to control a wood or hybrid to land a green. So that's where the challenge comes in. But it's a very large green, very accessible. in my opinion, from even that distance.
It's a great hole. And again, even though like, the bunkers are performative, I would say, it actually is very visually appealing. And there's just a lot to think about because you're aware of the fact that you have a long club in your hand. The vineyards aren't really in play, but you're aware of them. You see the bunker right in front of you. You just need to get up there and commit to hitting a good shot with a long club. And I think that's obviously great. Man, I don't know what it is. I hate 14. Like it's not that it's a bad hole. It's just it's like a divided hole. So there's basically you drive it into one fairway that's basically 275 to the end of the fairway, and then it's all about angle because if you cheat and you hit it short, you're basically blocked out. And I think both times I hit poles right, which is like the worst place you can be because literally I had to like pitch out. And then, I remember the first time I didn't pitch it far enough. So I pitch into the fairway, but it's not far up enough to hit it on the green. So it's not that it's a bad hole. It's just a hole that I really, really struggled on. And I think both times I had really good rounds going, and 14, both times I think I made bogey once and double. And I just walked off being like, fuck that hole. Not that it's a bad hole. It's just what you need to do is really probably just hit a 230-yard shot, 250-yard shot out to the left, like further left than you think, and then just trust it. Because in your head, you're like, oh, well, if I just go farther right, I can cheat. You can't. You're going to get blocked out. Don't do it. Just stay left, hit a 240-yard shot, and you'll be fine. But actually a pretty good hole because I've watched, we all played it a very different way, and it definitely chewed kind of everybody up.
Yeah, I think it's one of those holes. I'm going to disagree a little bit with you because I think it's a very well-designed hole because it, again, forces you to really think about where to hit it and if you want to take the risk because you can cut the corner, and it even shows on the course layout that they have in the yardage book that you can cut that corner even from your tee box. You'd be at 262 to cut the corner over the shit that separates the two fairways, and it'd be 262. So if you really did hit your driver like you normally do and carried about 275, you could cut that corner and have about 90 in. But again, it really forces you to hit a really good shot, and it's a small window. And again, you're probably better off, like you said, playing a 230 to 240 shot into that left fairway and then hitting into the green. That's going to leave you, 175, 180 club in, and that's going to probably be the safest bet. But I love it because it really makes you think at the tee box. And I think every time you step up to that hole, it's going to force you to want to change up the way that you play it.
Yeah, and to be clear, I agree with you that it's well designed. I'm just saying, like, it's like we've talked about where it's hard to talk about courses where you've played really badly, right? Like, you want to be, like, if the first time you play Pasta Tiempo, you shoot 95, you're going to be like, well, I had fun, but, like, I made 8 on 11 and I made 12, you're like, it's really hard to, like, look past what you shot. And this is just the one hole that ate my lunch. But I will tell you, again, maybe it's because I did not try to hit driver, to be clear. I'm looking at the thing with you that says you can cut the corner. That feels incredibly stupid to me. Like, you can do that. You also might hit a tree and have it ricochet 100 yards to the right and make a 9. Just make your par and get the fuck out of there. That's my suggestion for 14.
And then on to 15.
Oh, 15's a crazy
In
goal.
my opinion, this is golf porn. I mean, it really is. Like, you step up to this tee box and you're just like, oh. I mean, it's so appealing to the eye. Even if you're a non-golfer, I think you'd be like, wow, this is a cool piece of property. I mean,
yeah,
so
for sure.
The tee boxes run right along this little, like, lake pond that they have, and then it creates a creek that runs along the entirety of the hole, which creates 2 separate fairways, one on the left-hand side, one on the right-hand side. And both of them have very high risk rewards if you go either route. I would say, and I don't know if you agree with this, going into the left fairway over the water, in my opinion, is the easiest route to go, but you have it's a very wide piece of fairway, but you have a big miss left and right.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. This is a hole that like I need to replay because if we weren't exactly sure what they were doing, but I think they actually killed the fairway on the left, so there was no grass and there was bunkers. So what they did is if you hit it over there, you got a free drop into the other fairway. Again, it was like not the way the hole was supposed to be played, but yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the move having like because we said fuck it and we played it both directions. I think the move is to hit like a 230-yard shot over in the left fairway, and it gives you the best angle. Because to your point, if you hit driver, you can actually you push your driver like over into number 13, like. That's what somebody in the group did. And then you have like you can't see the green, you're like in the vineyard, like it's just not good. Just get up there and hit a smooth shot 230 yards to the left fairway. You've got a perfect angle in. I mean, I guess you can hit it in the little creek there, but like the creek is very small. So I would say go left, hit it 230 and you'll be fine. Really good green complex too. Very subtle.
Very subtle. Good green complex. Fun hole. And that makes me a little sad. Last time you played it, they had the left burnt out because I thought that was an incredibly well-designed, little add-in to have that creek that runs along the middle and give you that separation and thought process of which route would be the best way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
But then
we moved to 16, which
yep.
I think 16 is the worst of the par threes. It's not bad. It's just a little snoozy.
I think I'm in the same boat. I don't think there's anything special about it. I think the only thing that makes this hole challenging is, again, distance. That's the only thing that makes the par threes challenging, I think, on this entire course is there isn't any relatively short par threes, especially if you're playing the way back or the gold where you would be playing. I mean, 180 for you is a nice smooth 6-iron. Where for me on white at 161, that's a smooth 7-iron for me, which it's a little bit more accessible with a 7-iron. 6-iron, your dispersion gets a little bit wider. So it makes it a little bit more challenging for anybody from the golds, but it's, again, very boring. I don't think there's anything fantastic about this hole other than the creek running along the left that makes it visually appealing.
This is when we were allowed to give your nothing really to report back. I mean, the one thing I will say is I do remember that the green complex is like very tilted, but I think the hard part is because there's so many visually appealing holes, having one that's like this, it's sort of like, it just is what it is. Like there's water, but it's not really in play. It's fine. But then it finishes strongly. I mean, I think 17 and 18 are two like very, 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 very tough holes because 17 is a par 5 where like really both these holes you really need to execute. 17 is from the tees I would play 5-12, but man, it feels longer because there's a bunker. Like if I pull it a little bit or you push it, you're going to be in the right bunker, and then the hole feels super long. At that point, water on the right side is entirely in play. So yeah, you may be laying up with like a 6-iron, but if you mishit it, you could for sure hit it in the water. And then you have like a peninsula-ish green where the ball can again totally go in the water with bunkers left up by the green. So I mean, it's one of those that, like, it for me, 17 and 18 both just make you feel really uncomfortable the
very
whole time.
Claustrophobic, very tight.
Yeah.
The green on 17 might as well be an island green because
yes,
like almost
if you miss it at all, it's gone.
Almost 75% of the green is wrapped around by water, and then on the left hand side, if you miss the green left, you've got 3 giant bunkers that all slope down towards the water, towards the green.
Yeah,
which make it impossible to get a good bunker shot out of there and trying to stop it without it rolling into that little bit of rough that is the only savior on the right-hand side of that green for having your ball go into the water.
Yeah.
But
100%.
Then we get into 18, Final
which is,
stretch.
according to handicap, second hardest hole in the course, 423 from my tees, 417 from yours. And like, you can't hit it right. Water all the way from tee to green. And again, like, once you get to, I mean, I guess in fairness, it's pretty long, but the point is, like, bunkers sort of come into play, and it's just, again, you said it best. Claustrophobic is a great way to put it.
Yeah, there's nowhere to miss off the tee. Left, you got bunkers. Right, you've got water. Hitting onto this green feels like you have. It's a pretty substantially sized green, but with the oblong bunkers that kind of surround the green, there's nowhere to miss. I mean, you miss right, you're in the water. You miss long, you're in a bunker. You miss long left, you're in a bunker. You miss short, you're in a bunker. There's nowhere to miss. If you know you're hitting green or you're within a hazard of some sort. It's very claustrophobic ending shot.
Well, and the other thing too is because of the way the hole is contoured, if you do, for me, hit a pull or you hit a push into the water, it's going to cross, like, you're basically not advancing the ball because, like, the way it's shaped, like, if I hit a pull, it's not going to really cover any land. So the point is, you're basically having to just, like, drop. It's essentially a yellow hazard, even though it's red, if that makes sense. Like, you're just going to re-drop and have to hit it again. And then once you get to the green, elevated green, tons of shit behind the green. Again, another one where it's like, you just want to make four. Like, it's crazy because I think there's some holes, and the reason I think Yocha is so great is, like I said, two, if you're a good player, you really need a birdie too. Like the hole you were talking about with the Lion's Mouth Green, if you're a really good player, if you're a 1 or 2 handicap, there's certain holes where it's like you really need to make birdie. But then, like, when you get to like 17 or 18, it's like make a 4 or even make a 5 and then get out of there. Just don't make a 6 or 7. Like, you can easily do that. If I get up on, I think I did this same time I played. If you get up on 18, if me hit a big pull into the water, you're literally having to re-tee because you didn't cross anything. So then you're hitting. It's like hitting at OB. It's a tough scene.
Really tough scene. And talking about another tough scene, I would say their merch game. And
oh, interesting. I didn't go in there.
Yeah, merch game is a very tough scene. I will say they have a very nice pro shop with a lot of gear, but I'm gonna have to go hard on their logo. Yocha might have one of the shittiest logos in golf. It is horrendous. It's just it looks like it was designed and I don't necessarily know what it is, and I hope I'm not offending anybody.
I was about to say, why should it be tied to the tribe?
If it is tied with the tribe, but it's kind of the same way I thought about the Paiute when we were playing out. It's just there. It looks like it was designed in the mid '90s. The actual logo, it just is that like really crappy like southwestern script that looks like it was done in New Mexico or Arizona. It's just, in my opinion, boring, and it could be elevated a lot more, and I'd be more intrigued in their merch game. But I think they do have a substantial amount of merch, but I would never buy it just because their logo is awful. And that's a big thing. If I'm going to buy your gear, I'm going to buy it because your logo is sick and your course is sick, and even if your course is sick, I'm not going to buy your gear because your logo sucks.
Yeah. And I will say though, as to make up for that a little bit, again, we played 36, so we had lunch. Lunch was good. Drinks were good. Really good facilities. And again, can't emphasize it enough. Really, 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 I mean, again, it's a resort. Like, the amenities are great. Like, you pull up, they want to take your bag. They put a little bag tag. Like, they really, really take care of you out there. Lots of water. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's, like I said, it's a place where if you have a buddy like Aaron Munda who can get you out there for cheaper, like, for sure do that. But I would say to all of our listeners, especially if you're kind of in the Bay Area or like larger kind of Northern California area, well, once a year, go play it. It's worth paying full freight. It's just a really, really fun golf course. And like I said, holes where it's like you can go make birdies, and holes where like you're truly like battling to make a par.
Yeah, I would put it on the same list as like Cinnabar and Harding, and there's just like a group of 5 or 6 courses that you play every year.
That's
You play
true.
them once a year.
It is kind of Cinnabar. I mean, Cinnabar's got
Yeah,
better green complexes, but like they're from the same they're from the same cloth in my mind.
yeah, and it's just the price point gets you at the point where you're not going to probably play it regularly. It's a once a year treat, and I think everybody's got that handful of courses in their area that it's just like, all right, perfect weather coming up in the next 2 weeks. It's the perfect time to go out and spend that little extra money to play a really premium fun course with the guys. So
Yeah,
that's what Yocha is. And that's what Cinnabar is. I mean, the price points just regulate your amount that you're actually going to go out there and play it.
yeah,
That's why they're
for
also
sure.
pristine in what they are.
Yeah, yeah. But big. I think the way to do it, like you said, if you can do it, unless you have a Troon card, maybe if you do, I think the stand play is a good idea because I will say I think I woke up at 5 a.m., drove up there, played 36, and drove home, and I was exhausted. Like it was like I got home and like I was like I wasn't unsafe, but it was one of those where I was on the way home, like opening my eyes really big, like okay, we got 45 minutes, like let's buck up and get home. But yeah, great course. Go play it. It's about time for me to get back out there. I've not played there in about a year, but had a great time. But Big C, great to talk to you as always. This was definitely, I did not kind of know we were going to be going hole by hole, but kind of fun. I mean, also shout out to Yocha on their website. Like they have this like what pictures, distances, yardages, like every place should do that. So definitely
They
fun to kind of
basically
dive through. Yeah.
Yeah, they basically digitize their yardage book, which I think more golf courses should do that because it really gives anybody that hasn't played a course, it gives them a little bit of a taste of what they're going to get out there and include pictures along with it of what it actually looks like when you're playing it. I think those little added things, some more golf courses could absolutely draw more people out there if they're adding those little bonuses just on the website. Doesn't seem that hard.
Yeah. And if you're worried about like, the 2 people a day who might not buy your $5 yardage book, you're doing something, that's on you. Like don't people will still buy the yardage book, but yeah, I think it's a good way to kind of refresh. And again, of course we both love a lot. So Big C, I will see you shortly. I know we'll have one pod in between our kind of full blown kind of Portland/Salem/ Corvallis golf trip. But great to talk to you, man. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
Peace.